Hey, what's good, everybody? It's me, your hero, Benjamin Banks, and you're watching Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, and it is another brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer? And joining me today is somebody who I was fortunate to meet at Tidewater Comic-Con. We had a really fun time there, me, Trav, and D. You can watch our interviews from Tidewater Comic-Con. They are up here on our YouTube channel. Make sure you check those out and make sure that you like those videos as well. But joining me today on Who's That Cosplayer is Logan the Cosplayer. Logan, how are you doing today, man?
Great, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Hey, I am doing fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me up here on Who's That Cosplayer. It's awesome, and I'm glad that we're doing this. So before we get into today's interview, everybody that's watching, make sure that you like this video, you subscribe to the channel, and you hit that bell button so that way you're always notified when we have new content here on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. And as D always says, podcast link down in the description. Like, follow, subscribe. So let's go ahead and get into this interview, Logan. So first thing, story time. I want to tell everybody how me and Logan met. We were at Tidewater Comic-Con. He saw me interviewing cosplayers there, and then he ended up subscribing to us on YouTube, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. And he slid in my DMs and was just like, "Hey, can I be interviewed?" And I was like, "Sure. You know I love interviewing cosplayers because your boy is a cosplayer himself." Logan, first thing that I want to ask you, this is the first question I ask all of my guests on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks, is what is your origin? Every hero or villain has one, so tell everybody who you are.
So, for people who don't know me, of course, my name is Logan, and I do cosplay. I also sometimes do voice acting. I come from a world where I didn't know what cosplay was back then. I came across it back when, so I discovered cosplay by one of my friends, and they said, "Hey, Logan, I do cosplay." I'm like, "Wait, what is that?" They basically said, "Oh, it's this thing where you like dress up in different characters, and you also can go to conventions." Like, "Oh, that sounds cool." So I decided to check it out. Well, actually, I did some research first, and so when I did my research, I came across some videos, and I used to watch a lot of like videos of seeing people cosplay, specifically people cosplaying San Diego Comic-Con, which is like the biggest convention ever. And so I discovered that, and I've always wanted to go to a con, but I never. But in my head, I was thinking to myself, there can't be a con of Virginia, because I didn't know at the time, until Tidewater. So my first convention was, believe it or not, was Tidewater Comic-Con, and my first cosplay was, believe it or not, Jason Voorhees from Friday 13th. It wasn't the best cosplay, but it was something. So, and then as the years went on, my cosplay's gotten better and better, and so I basically am full-on cosplayer, and basically I go to conventions every year. So yeah.
That's awesome. And hey, that's an awesome origin story, man. Now, when I met you at Tidewater Comic-Con, cosplaying as Venti, who you're cosplaying as right now, but I've seen on your page that you've done some amazing cosplays, and one of the cosplays that you've done is Art the Clown from the Terrifier movies. Now, just to let everybody know, we have interviewed David Howard Thornton, and that podcast interview, it's not on YouTube. Unfortunately, we haven't uploaded the video yet. I don't know why, but it is on our podcast, so make sure you check that out. But, you know, how was it, you know, meeting David Howard Thornton? Because I've seen that you met him as well, and, you know, he's a really awesome guy. And when you met him, like, I'm sure you talked about Art the Clown and how you love the Terrifier movie. So, like, how was that experience?
Oh, he was just one of the most nicest guys I've ever met. Like, when I first met him, I first went down there, and I was very nervous at first, because usually I get nervous when meeting celebrities, even though they are normal people too. And so I said hi, and I was just, you know, doing my thing, and so I told him how much I love Terrifier and love his character Art the Clown, and so we had a talk about a little bit about Terrifier too. Of course, he couldn't say much about it, but it got me very excited. So yeah, we talked. He signed my movies. I got an autograph from him, and we talked. And after that, during the nighttime, later that night, I was at a VIP party, and we actually hung out at the VIP party. We actually talked about a bunch of stuff, not just Terrifier. And the funny thing about me and David is that I actually told him, like, what are your hobbies? Like, what do you do if you're not acting? He told me I love playing video games. Like, I asked David, like, what are you currently playing right now? And he told me, and this is kind of how I got into it, but he told me he was playing Genshin Impact, and he's like, have you he told me, like, Logan, have you played? Like, no. He's like, what is that? I've seen many ads on YouTube for it.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should play it. It's free to play. I'm like, okay, I'll check it out. So ever since he told me about Genshin Impact, I just fell madly in love with the game. So the guy who played Arc the Cloud Terrifier recommended me Genshin Impact, and I gotta thank him for that as well. So that was a pretty funny story. But yeah, we became friends after that. We're friends on Facebook, so he's a very nice guy, and I still talk to him to this day. So we keep in touch.
That's awesome. And that's an awesome story too. I mean, like when we interviewed him on the podcast, you know, he was just a very nice guy, like how you said. And I want to say when we interviewed him, like there was mention of Terrifier too, but it wasn't. I want to say like green, if that makes sense. But now that it's coming out, like I'm excited to see it. Like, are you excited to see Terrifier too?
Oh, definitely. I watched Terrified like over and over, the first one, and never get tired of it. I don't know why. It has a special place in my heart. Yeah. So I am very excited, and I do know it's going to be at least 2 hours long. It's going to be a lot more bigger, bloodier, and crazier.
That's what she said.
So I'm very excited. And I've been watching Terrifier so much that when I did Art the Clown for the cosplay, I took a lot of inspiration, and even David told me, was talking about during his Q&A. Before I did Art the Clown, I used to watch a lot of like old silent movies, like Charlie Chaplin and Mr. Bean. I still watch Mr. Bean to this day because I thought he's hilarious. And I wanted to put a lot of that into Art the Clown. And so I really took a lot of inspiration from David, because when I see him as Art the Clown, I really put a lot of Art the Clown when I cosplay. I mean, I try not to talk as much, basically. But when I do kind of act in character, I always like to be silent and be funny. Like, I like to be both funny and scary. And so there's some moments where I just kind of like do my little Art the Clownness and kind of just have fun with it. And yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from a lot of silent actors. So that was just very fun to kind of play around with, basically.
Yeah, so now let me ask you, you met David Howard Thor, and I want to know now, like, what have been some of your favorite moments at conventions from over the years? I know that has to be a really cool one, just hanging out with him at VIP, and then, him recommending you Genshin Impact. But what are some of your other favorites?
I think recently, my favorite moment is when someone said, "Are you the guy from Terrifier?" And I said, "Yes." There was this person, his name was Jasper, and he was a furry, and he's like, "Are you the guy from Terrifier?" I'm like, "Yeah." Well, I'm not the actor, but I'm like the person that cosplayed as the character. So he knew who I was, and I'm like, "Oh my god!" And he asked me if I wanted pictures. I said, "Absolutely." And then we gave each other hugs and exchanged each other's Instagram, and became really, really close friends. And he also has autism. I actually have autism, which is a disability. So, but yeah, he was so nice, and I met some of his friends too. But yeah, that was one of the best moments, because I never had someone come up to me and be like, "Hey, do you want a picture? Want to hang out?" So yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, I always think that that's an awesome thing when it comes to cosplaying at conventions, and people see you, they see that you're the character, they want to take pictures with you, become friends, and like that's what I love about going to conventions, man, because it's just like you just meet so many people like we met, and like we're now doing this interview. You just never know what's going to happen at a con, and I just feel like everybody is so nice and welcoming at these conventions, and like that's the reason why I love going to them. So I want to ask you now, because to piggyback off of something you had said earlier, you mentioned that you went to your first con, you cosplayed as Jason Voorhees. Like, what have been some of your favorite other cosplays that you've done from over the years?
So besides art, I really like doing Venti. That was probably the most. I mean, you probably see me as Venti. There's been other Ventis at Taiwan Comic-Con. Yeah. Oh my goodness, multiverse happening. No, I'm kidding.
No, that's what I call it. When you see other cosplayers cosplaying as the same character as you, it's the multiverse of madness. Like,
that's exactly, man. Yeah, Venti has always been, like, Genshin Impact has always been one of my favorite video games of all time, and I was so lucky enough to interview Amber, the voice actress for her. She was. Yeah, she was amazing. So I was a huge Genshin Impact fan. Again, thanks to David, who told me about the game. That game brought a lot of, no pun intended, impact into my life. it was just a fun game. And so when I saw Venti, like everyone loved that character, and he became such a fan favorite. I was like, I have cosplay as his character. At first, I was really nervous because I feel like people are going to get Venti. Like a lot of people are thinking Venti's a girl, but I mean, clearly he's a guy. But I can definitely see as to why people think he looks like a girl. I can definitely see, you know. But I just kind of took like, oh, I guess I can do it. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like people, guys and girls cosplay as different things, so it's fine. I mean, I'm not gonna I don't judge people anyway. So when I cosplay as Venti, I feel like I'm gonna be in my comfort zone and just go with it, you know. And so when I saw other Ventis, I just felt like this whole Spider-Man No Way Home thing just happened because there was like 2 or 3 other Ventis. And I'm just like in my head, I'm thinking, did I just break the multiverse? Because I'm seeing 2 or 3 other different me's. This is insane. But yeah, that was probably one of my favorite moments, and it was both funny and probably one of the most coolest things that ever happened to me.
Who's that cosplayer?
Lexical nuisance.
Yeah, I know. Because like I thought Venti was a girl because I haven't played Genshin Impact yet. And every con that I've gone to, whenever I've seen a Venti cosplayer, it's always been a girl. And you were the first Venti cosplayer that I saw that was a guy. And it wasn't until like I had seen him on Facebook, I found out that Venti was a guy. And I was just like, wow, I never knew this, you know, because you just see at cons all the time, like there's always a woman cosplaying as Venti. So, you know, I think that it's cool too that you use the whole multiverse term as well, because I just think that it's a fun term to use when you see anybody else cosplaying the same character, and then you become friends with these people because it's just like you want to do the whole Spider-Man pointing thing. Like
that's what exactly. That's what I did. I did that about I don't know how many times, like 4 or 3 times, because I thought it was so funny. I did it with the Jinx characters, Jinx cosplayers. I did it with a bunch of other crossover characters, but my favorite picture that one of my friends taken, or one of the people taken, was the Venti ones. I love doing the Venti ones because you know it's the same character, and I love that meme so much, and I had to do that, so that was really fun.
That's awesome. So, you know, something I want to piggyback off of is because, you know, you had mentioned Kelly Baskin, who is somebody that we interviewed up here too on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. You can check out her interview, either the YouTube video or the podcast link. But I want to ask you now, like, how did you get into podcasting? What made you want to become a podcaster?
So I always like listening to podcasting. Like I've done a bunch of interviews with other people before. Kelly, I mostly, like I've said, I've done cosplayers. Actually, at one point, I did do like a small interview with Kane Hodder, Jason Voorhees, and Friday 15. He was really cool. And so I've always loved podcasting, especially like I used to watch, I mean, I don't really watch him. I still kind of watch him, but I used to watch Joe Rogan. He was one of my main inspirations for podcasting. I know a lot of people didn't like him. So basically, I've always loved podcasting. And so so I've always wanted to make my own YouTube channel, and I never knew what to make. And so in my head, I always thought, well, what if I did like interviews of cosplayers? I mean, I have a computer now. I mean, it's not a great computer, but it's something, you know?
Yeah.
And so
start somewhere.
Exactly. So I've always loved seeing people like doing interviews with different cosplayers, and I've always loved that. And you know, back when COVID was so huge, and you know, you couldn't really go anywhere, I'm like, well, what if we did like this whole Zoom thing? Like virtual con kind of thing, but it's on Zoom, and you can show off your cosplay in Zoom because, you know, conventions weren't open at the time because of COVID. So we did that, and so that's how I kind of got inspiration for doing videos on cosplay. If you look at my YouTube channel, I've done 2 interviews, or 3. One was with my cosplayer friend named Corey, and the other one I've done with a haunt actor named Sprinkles the Clown. So she was really nice, and so on and so forth. I do have a few to do in the future. I just don't know who yet, so we'll see what happens.
Hey, well, if you want to interview a cosplayer, you got one right here with your hero Benjamin Banks.
Yeah.
Interview, man.
That'll be fun.
But you know, to piggyback off of something that you had said about Kane Hodder, I had met him at Scares That Cares. It was a couple years ago, and how I met him, I was in the bathroom in my cosplay, and he came in the bathroom, and he was just like, that's not something that you see every day. And I was just like, yo, I know who you are. You're Jason. And I got a picture with him, and my friend got a picture with him. So I think that that's cool that you were able to, interview him and meet him, and it's cool that you have these amazing stories of people that you've met, and I just love that. I love that people like they gave you the time to, just talk to them, and like that's what I love about being a podcaster and interviewing people, because so many people have so many amazing stories to tell. Just like I'm interviewing you right now, and you have all these awesome stories to tell. So now I want to ask you, when you're not cosplaying, you're not podcasting, what are some of your hobbies that you're into? I know that you mentioned that you play Genshin Impact, but what are some of the other games that you like to play? What are, if you read manga, watch anime, what's some stuff that you like to do?
Right now, I'm currently playing, I don't know if you played this, called Skyrim.
I know what it is, but I have never played it. I'm more of a Fallout guy.
Oh, man. Yeah, I still play, okay. So, I still play Genshin, but my main game that I mainly play is Skyrim. I've beaten the main story, but I still play to this day. I've actually met one of the Skyrim cosplayers who cosplays the Jester.
Nice.
And so they told me, because I already have Skyrim, but it's on the PlayStation. People are like, you gotta get on the Switch, because I do own a Nintendo Switch. And they told me, is it really good? Does it run well? I was like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good, it runs pretty well on the Switch. I'm like, okay, I'll get it at one point. And so, yeah, I played it. It was very fun, plus I get to play on the go, wherever I go, It was fun. As for hobby-wise, like, besides that, I do, right now I got my first manga, which is actually the first volume of My Hero Academia. I've never, ever read a manga. So that was my first manga. So I read it and I loved it. So I might get more mangas in the future.
Hey, you see, I got Deku right behind me. I got all My Hero Academia is one of my favorite series that's out right now. Like My Hero.
Oh yeah.
It's the series that got me back into watching anime again. Deku is somebody who I cosplayed. When I got into cosplay, I did like normal costumes before, like in regular clothes and whatnot. But I told myself, I was just like, when I cosplay as an anime character, two people I want to cosplay: Deku from My Hero Academia and Jotaro Kujo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think I'll go ahead.
No, you're fine. So, but yeah, but if I'm not like going to conventions, like I know people are gonna ask, like, what do you do if you're not cosplaying conventions? Well, I still cosplay, but I like to do it in my room at home.
Yeah.
And so I basically nowadays what I like to do, I like to do TikTok videos of cosplays. So, because I don't really like TikTok. I kind of do, but I mainly do TikTok just for cosplay stuff, like Venti or Art the Clown or someone completely different. So I like to really get in there and just have fun with it. And also, I like to watch movies. I love horror films. I love action. But my favorite movie, my two favorite movies right now one of them is underrated, which is called Black Christmas, and another one.
That's Dee's favorite movie, my co-host.
Yeah, the original, not the two remakes, which I'm not going to get into. I'll talk about that in a minute. But and yeah, Terrifier is one of them. So yeah, that's basically what I like to do as a hobby.
Okay, nice. So, since, you mentioned horror movies on the podcast, he always has these famous questions that he loves to ask all of the guests before we wrap it up. And like, this will be the final question that I have for you. So you already mentioned Terrifier was one of your favorite horror movies and Black Christmas. Now I want to know, what is something that scared you from your childhood or something that could have happened like a couple years ago that scared you, left terror in your eyes and your body, and you feel terrified whenever you see this thing? What is that?
It's not really something that's okay. It's not. I wouldn't say it's scary to some people, but my fear, well, this is kind of really sad, and I'll talk about it if that's fine. But one of the things that really scares me is losing my friends and family. Because I had a friend that actually, we're no longer friends anymore. He kind of betrayed me, and so that really upsetted me. And I've always been scared of losing my friends. And I have one friend in particular, whose name is Lily. Who, if you've seen pictures of me on Instagram, we just got off on the cruise, which was so fun.
Nice.
And so she's been my best friend ever since high school, and she actually helped with my Art the Clown makeup. She did it all, and so I just want to thank her for that. So yeah, losing my friends and family is probably the biggest one, because I've lost a lot of friends a while back, but nowadays I just kind of just go along with it. Like if you don't want to be friends with me, I'm cool with that. I don't really care. So yeah, that's at least one of my biggest fears. But yeah.
I think that is a scary thing. I mean, I know that feeling of, just losing people that you care about, because it's just like you grow up with people, you meet people over the years, and like you have these bonds. And, unfortunately, like I say, when it comes to friendships or relationships, they all have expiration dates, unfortunately. Sometimes the expiration date, it goes on for a long time, but then sometimes like it ends abruptly, you know what I'm saying? So it just sucks. But, what I want to say now is I want to say thank you so much for joining me up here on Who's That Cosplay. You are an awesome guest. And before I let you go, I want you to let everybody in social media land know where they can find you at.
You could find me on my YouTube channel, which is just Logan Flores. You could find me on Instagram, which is LoganF1107. And yeah, that's about it.
You got to shout out to TikTok.
And TikTok. I got TikTok too. Yes, same thing. My TikTok is LoganFL107. I'm going to be posting some really cool cosplays pretty soon. My next cosplay I'm working on right now is going to be Sally Face from the game Sally Face. So nice. That's going to be fun.
Awesome. And hey, y'all already know where you can find me, your hero Benjamin Banks at KingBenji_Banks. On Twitter and Instagram, you can find me on Facebook as Benjamin Banks. I should be the first person to pop up. If not, then I need to contact Mr. Zuckerberg. Thank you again, Logan, for joining me up here on a brand new episode of Who's That Cosplayer. Thank you, everybody, for watching this interview. Make sure that you follow Logan on all of his social media accounts. Make sure that you check out some of our other interviews, reaction videos, and reviews that we have here on the channel. Check out our podcast. The link is down below in the description, where we have new episodes every Tuesday. And then the video of that interview is up on YouTube on Friday. Like I always say, keep that pinky up. Stay positive. We'll see you next time on Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Peace.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks again, everybody, for watching another episode of Leveling Up with Benjamin Banks. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to the channel. Podcast, we got that too. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and hit that bell for further episodes and notifications. Thanks a lot to our patrons. And if you don't mind, join the Patreon. We'll be having new specials coming up soon.